Are you a business owner who's thinking about advertising, or maybe you've just started, but you're not really sure of the most efficient way to get more clicks, to get more people to buy your stuff, or even to get your ads noticed? Then you've landed on the right video, because today I'm going to be showing you 3 simple techniques that anybody can integrate into their ad campaigns, whether they're a beginner or they're looking to improve existing. So, if you don't know who I am, by the way, before we get started, my name is Alexander, and I work one-on-one with business owners to help them grow. This year alone, I have earned them an additional $7 million in revenue they didn't even have by just changing how they do their sales, operations, and marketing. Let's go ahead and begin, though, so I can teach you how to get more effective ad campaigns that actually convert well. The first thing that you need to do is to understand who needs this thing, who needs your product or service. You need to know your audience inside and out. And that can boil down into a couple key things. But before we even get to that, the most important thing is that it is about them. It is not about you. And the language that you use, the value that they understand, what they're looking to get out of it, the outcome you can create, all of those revolve around the target, the customer, the client, not you, because there's probably some things that you think are great, all the tools that you use, the jargon that you use, and you need to get rid of those out of your mind now and focus strictly on what they like, what they value, what they want to hear. So let's boil these down into a few key things. So who is the most important one? What and how? And the easiest way to think about these is your target, your value, and your, I guess, steps, or you could say sacrifice. But basically, whenever you run that ad, whenever you start your campaign or you're trying to improve it, you need to understand that at the end of the day, with marketing, the goal is to spend the least amount possible to get the highest results. It's great if you could put in $1 and you get $2 out when you do marketing, but it's even better when you can put $1 in and you get $10 out. So you need to start to understand who needs that thing, who is the most likely to buy that, who gets the biggest value, the biggest splash, the biggest impact from buying your product or service. What that target is will determine everything moving forward, whether it's the language inside the ad, whether it's the targeting criteria for when you actually go into your ad campaign manager, or even something as simple as the colors they like, the fonts they use. It could be anything. But once you understand who needs that person, give them at least 3 attributes. Maybe it's their job title, their age, their gender, their location, their hobbies, their interests, their pain. Write that down like a stat sheet and define that person. Know them inside and out. The second thing is what. What do they value? What are they looking to get out of working with you? Because sometimes it might be as simple as something they are having, like a conversation in their head about, I want to get more leads. I want to get more sales. I want more free time. I want to have a better life. I want to look cooler. I want to go faster. Something inside of their head that you can solve that problem, but what that value is needs to be conveyed from their perspective. Let's say, for instance, that you were trying to sell something like a luxury sports car, and you went out there and your target demographic was a male who was 40 to 60 years old living in a high urban area. Well, you're going to start to understand what value that person wants to get out of it. Maybe they want a better car because they want to drive faster, they want to feel like they're young again, they want to go to the racetrack. Or maybe they want a better car because they want to increase their social status, they want to attract better women, they want to do something, but there's always an emotional reason in the back of their mind where they say, hey, I want to stop stressing about this, I want this outcome, I want this value, I want this thing. So start to understand the conversation that they're having in their head. And then the last component is going to be how. What steps are required for me to act upon this thing? And you need to shorten that window. Ideally, you want the shortest window to the fastest time to value. By that is if they can click that button and they can get closer to where they want to be, if you can make that as small and as short as possible and as least painful as possible, your ads will exponentially be more effective. If, for instance, you had a button that you could just click and instantly get 6-pack abs overnight, that ad would do incredible. You would be able to spend little to nothing to get millions, billions of dollars overnight. But we don't have a miracle cure like that. And likely what you just need to understand is to map that out. So just start to break down what the components are. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is take out all of the navigation required. Do not run an ad that drops them on your homepage. Do not run an ad that drops them on a contact us form. If you can, start to reformulate that to either a specific landing page on your website or a dedicated page on your website for that offer, or try and make it a digital interaction or give away some value in return. So instead of filling out this contact form to talk to the sales team, give them a free consultation that will tell them a little bit about how to fix that problem so you can get them into a Zoom call and then you can upsell them onto the thing. Never, ever lead them to your homepage. That is an easy, surefire way to just waste money for your business. So to recap, let's break this down. Who is this person that needs this thing? That's the first thing you're going to want to solve, and understand the conversation that they're having right here inside of their head. Why are they thinking these thoughts? What are the types of thoughts that they're thinking? What are they looking for to fix it? Then you want to go to what they're going to look for. So let's label as who, what. So this could be all your different components inside of your thing. What is the thing they're looking to get out of here? What variation of that? And these could just be symbolic of that. But the best idea to think about is, what do they want? What is winning for them? So if you think about this as the destination, so to speak, that this customer or client is looking for, what is their flavor of that? And think about this from their perspective, not from your perspective, from your product or service, but what value that they can get out of working with you. And then the third thing is ultimately going to be, what are the steps involved? So how? So once you understand that, now you can map out what it takes to get your actual offer and break that down from the ad. So ideally, you want to make it as simple, easy, and valuable as possible. If they can click that button and get closer to something, then you're already ahead of 90% of competitors who run ads that just drop them onto nowhere and don't do anything. So understand who needs your stuff, what they're looking for out of it, and how they can actually take advantage of it, or basically follow the steps in the ad to get closer to where they want to be. By the way, if all of this is still too confusing and you're not really sure on where to begin, I can still help you, because all you have to do is click the link that's pinned at the top comment or the top link in the description, and step by step for free, I'll give you a personalized roadmap on how to grow your business. Now, the second thing is all about your creative and your emotional state for the customer or the client, the one you're trying to create. Now, when it comes to this, your creative needs to be usually revolving around what's called end state. And end state is a little different than what most people think of when they think of advertising. So this is usually on the left side, I would say bad creative, and this is good. Now, what's the difference between this happy customer and this sad customer is that this customer looks at your ad and says, I want that life. I want that thing. I want to be where that person is. This person looks at the thing and just sees work. And it's very important that you understand this distinction, because that is why we buy things. It's all about the emotional response. This is the reason that plane companies advertise a ticket to Las Vegas showing somebody spinning a roulette wheel and having a great time in the casino and going crazy and, wow, this is so fun and you could be doing that. But they don't show them walking through the airport, going through TSA, sitting on a crusty bench, standing next to somebody and trying to shove your luggage up into the carry-on little cabin containers. Nobody wants to deal with that. They want the end state. And what I would even encourage you to do is to focus on three things. The end state is a great starting point. Where do they want to be? What do they look like on the other end? If I'm selling weight loss, then I'm not going to use an image that shows an empty gym with some dumbbells and some treadmills. That's work. That's boring. I don't like that. People don't like that about weight loss. But I will show an image of a smiling person surrounded by some friends, looking great, physical. They feel on top of the world. They're trim. Their mental health is at an all-time high, because that's what they look like after they've completed the workout program. That is where they want to be. Hence why a lot of weight loss ads are typically before and after states. Why a lot of ads that show something like fixing teeth, like braces or Invisalign, show before using the product and after using the product. It's all about the state they're in afterwards. Another component of the end state is to really push those emotional buttons inside of your ad because, like I said, emotion is a huge component of the buying process. And what you want to have is either pain or pleasure. And in some ways, one of them is going to outweigh typically the other. When you think about it, if you run an ad, let's say I was an accounting firm, and I ran an ad that said, we're the best accounting firm. We're so good at what we do. We're, give us money. Here's a link to give us money. Probably not going to be effective. But if you ran an ad that said, hey, business owners, don't you hate seeing your hard-earned money go straight to the IRS? Click on this button to get a free consultation to see how you could keep more of your earnings. That's already targeting a lot of those different points at once. It's targeting the pain of me having to see my money go to the IRS and taxes, but it's also targeting the pleasure of me keeping more of that money, the outcome of what I want. And then all I have to do is click that button to see how I could be doing that. And then in theory, I would imagine once they drop into that Zoom call, then I could upsell them on, wouldn't you like to keep our accounting services? So tap into not just the end state of showcasing that maybe visually or through text by saying you could be here, but also tap into the other elements of what's preventing them from getting there. Pain is a fantastic way to push those buttons with somebody. Don't you hate it when you spend all this time on project management? Don't you hate having to do your operations? Don't you hate having to do email campaigns? Don't you hate having to post to social media all the time? To which each of those statements could be followed up with, here's how our product or service solves that thing. And the third way to use creative in your ads to dramatically increase sales is to test, or what's called split test. Now, this is a really big one because I see so many business owners who say the same thing. I ran Facebook ads and it didn't work. I ran Google ads and it didn't work. And then they swear off of them for the rest of their life because they say it's never going to work, it doesn't work, even though their competitors have shown that it works. But you need to understand the data using split testing. Now, what this means is, let's say that you have this great creative and you're ready to launch it. What I would encourage you to do is to run at least, bare minimum, 2 versions of that ad where you just change one thing. Now, I would encourage you to use that data to your advantage and just do this. Run one variation of that creative in at least 2 ad sets, because then you can see which one will perform the best. Let's say that you have a photo versus a video, and you can start there, and then all of a sudden you find that the video performs better. So then you can try 3 variations of that video. And then all of a sudden you find that this video performs well. And then this process just keeps going on and on, because what you're trying to do is find the best performing ad for the least amount of ad spend. And you really want to use this to your advantage. So think about different variations you can convey that using creative. You might have an image that performs better. You might have a video that performs better. You might have a different type of image that performs better, or you might have a different type of video that performs better. So try different clothing, try different backdrops, try different color schemes, try different outlets, try different variations, and run each one of those at a different time to see which one might potentially perform the best. And then what you want to find at the very end is, after you've run, let's say 2 of these, or the better the faster, let's say you could at least run 5 of them, for instance, then all of a sudden you could have one variation of these that all you need to do is to just keep doing more. Just keep refining those until you have the winner ad, and then don't stop there. Refine that one as well. So look for ways to split test, which is basically taking the same creative and blocking it out into different chunks, and then see which one of those performs the best. It might be a simple change in the language you use. It might be the text on the button. It might be the length of the text. It might be shooting against the sky backdrop here, or it might be shooting against a green screen somewhere. You will find the data will tell you so much about what people actually want to see, what they want to hear, how they want to hear it, but you will never know until you actually split test. So don't feel like you're going to get turned off just because 1 or 2 ads didn't work. Every business, especially successful ones, does this until the end of time, until they keep getting better and better performing ads. Now, bigger businesses have focus groups. They can test this on tens of thousands of people, but you have the added advantage of just starting off with a small budget, with a small select group of people that you can at least get some amount of data without having to blow a ton of money and then realizing your ad doesn't even work. So start small, be strategic about it. Now, to recap, the creative and the emotion is all about finding text, images, videos, buttons, colors, anything that resonates with your audience, that's going to get them to click. And you need to be smart about this. So show the end state of where they want to be. Do not show your service or product that's sacrificed. Don't show the work involved. Show where they're at after they get the thing. You want to tap into that emotion with your creative. You want to tap into the pain they're experiencing or the pleasure that they could get out of it or the outcome they could get out of it. So really incorporate things inside of that. Are you tired of? Wouldn't it be better? Well, you could get this, you could get that, you could get all of this, but what now? You're being held back by this, by that, by those things. Look for ways to press those pain buttons and look for ways to emphasize what outcome they're looking for. And finally, once you have something that's starting to work, split test. Don't just stop with one creative. Don't just stop with one image, one video. Start to find different ways to change it up, to reincorporate those into your ad campaigns, and continually do this process over and over and over again until you start getting ads that perform better and better and better, and just keep doing this process forever until you get ads that really perform better and better. Because if you don't do this and you find just one good ad that might work, then you are doing yourself a disservice of potentially getting a higher return on your marketing spend without having to spend more on marketing. The third component is going to be your offer. And this is a huge, crucial component to any advertisement, because if you don't have an offer, then you're not even ready to run an advertising campaign. At the end of the day, the offer is what will set you apart from competitors and will actually get people interested. Think about the McDonald's Big Mac. It's been the same burger that your parents have probably had, and maybe even your grandparents. But at the end of the day, they have to find new and exciting ways to get you interested, whether that's free French fries, some sort of combo meal, some sort of new value add-on, some sort of toy, some sort of size, some sort of something to get you interested in buying the same thing over and over again. Yet, if you are out there advertising a product, a service, and strictly that job title, and there's really no compelling reason, then frankly, you will get very little, if any, results from your ad. And you can boil this down into three different things. First of all, you need to understand that people are at different stages of the buying cycle. Do they know what your thing is? Do they understand what value it can bring to their life? And are they even ready to whip out their card and buy the thing? So first, you need to have different offers in different stages of that. The best way to think about this is what would earn the fastest amount of trust from the get-go. So what I encourage you to do is to form what's called an entry-level offer. Now, this means that especially if you're a high ticket item, you're probably not going to get people to spend thousands with you from the get-go. So what you need to have is something that they are looking for on this timeline, which is probably going to be the first, second, or third, or whatever variation of it is. And that means that right here is really where you want their offer to be. Let's say, for instance, that you were trying to sell kitchen remodeling services. If you run an ad strictly for that service, it's very likely that people won't be interested in it unless they're primed and ready to go. They're in a buying mood, they have the money, they're looking for a kitchen remodel, and you just happen to be at the right place at the right time. But what you can create is an entry-level offer that gives them a free kitchen design guide or a free kitchen design consultation, and that will allow you to upsell to the next thing. So your entry-level offer is a lot easier to get that customer or client's information from the get-go and then to upsell them later. Typically, this happens with something that's high ticket, but it can happen with low ticket items as well, because what you're looking to do is to get them to buy your thing, see the value of that thing, and then keep buying more stuff as time goes on. And it doesn't matter if it's a $10 widget or if it's a $10,000 course. Ultimately, you need to get them to the point where they're ready to buy, they see why they should buy from you, and they trust buying from you. And the only way that you can realistically do that, especially in today's world of competitive digital marketing, is to have some form of an entry-level offer. It's very difficult, very difficult to market your big thing or to get them to buy your core offer from the get-go. So think about something that could get their foot in the door. That might be a free tasting session if it's food or drink. That might be a free consultation if it is something that's a professional service. That might be a free guide if it's something where you're doing design work and you're teaching them how to do that remodel, just like the kitchen one from before. But look for ways that you can create more compelling, more efficient offers that are lower in the sales cycle so that you could build that trust in the long run. The second thing that you can do with your offer is ultimately just reduce friction. This is very similar to what we talked about in the first step, but ultimately you have to make it seem attainable. And what you can do is either convey that, hopefully in just a still image if you're doing something that has that capability when you're advertising, but more often than not, you might need to educate them. You might need to get that trust by simply explaining that to them or reducing the friction, reducing, I would say as well, objections. Because often what will happen some people will look at your ad and say, "Oh, I've heard this before. I that doesn't work for me. I'm too this doesn't apply to me." But if you can address that from within your ad, then ultimately you're looking to address what we call BDQs or buyer decision questions from the get-go. And those are basically a fancy way of saying objections, or at least what ifs. So if you're trying to sell a skincare product, for instance, and you're trying to reduce the friction where it's like, hey, this product helps with your acne, then all of a sudden you can address a lot of those either within the video or within the still image. And if it's a still image, you can start with the biggest, most common concerns. If it's a video, you have a little bit more flexibility. So say, for instance, I was selling that skincare cream. I might say things like it's organic, it's non-GMO, it's not tested on animals, you see results in as little as 10 days. And also, if you would like your money back after those 10 days because it doesn't work for you, you can get our guarantee. All of those need to be addressed in there. You can't wait for them to click on the ad and go to your landing page or go to your Google profile to see all your reviews. You only have 5, 10, maybe 15 seconds maximum to hook them in, to get them interested in your stuff. So you want to reduce all of those from the get-go within your ad. Just when they see it and say, what is this person trying to sell me? What is it? What is this thing? What does it do? You can instantly say, hey, I know you've heard this before, but this isn't like this. I know that somebody said that this didn't work, but this is how it works. You need to get them to understand that right then and there. Think about it this way. You're at the ice cream shop and you see 50 different flavors. It's the reason they give you that free little taste when you're like, well, I know what chocolate tastes like, but I don't know what this chocolate tastes like. Oh, I know I don't really like that vanilla flavor, but I'm going to try it anyways. And you try it and you say, oh man, this is great. It's the same thing that when they're scrolling through their Facebook feed and they see that ad that says like, oh, we'll get you more sales, we'll get you more lead gen, we'll get you better operations, you'll save more time, you'll do all of this stuff, even if you don't. Even if you've heard, even if you said. So look for ways to reduce those objections first inside of your offer, inside of your creative, so that then when they look at it, they say, huh, I'd like to learn more. And then they can go to your website, or then they can go to somewhere where they can expand on that opportunity. But if your offer simply just says, buy my thing, and that's it, then there's going to be a million objections that they're going to have inside of their head. So it's important that you address those from the get-go, or your BDQs, your buyer decision questions. How long? What is it test? What is it made of? Do I need to do this? Do I need to put any sacrifice into this? What is my involvement? Is it digital? Is it physical? What's shipping time? All the common questions should at least be addressed somewhere, but in your ad, it should at least have, I would say, the top 3 biggest things that they're likely saying from the get-go. And the last thing that you can do on your offer is ultimately to try and start to get info from the beginning. And this is something so many people often overlook. They might not be ready to buy right then and there, but once you understand that they don't need to be, where let's say this is the very beginning, this is your offer, and this is them at the other end. This is the results of working with you, and this is the start. You will get a far higher ROI if your offer has something right here in between where you can get their info. only in exchange for that thing. So run ads that don't necessarily have an offer that says you either buy the thing or you don't buy the thing. Once you have your entry level offer that you can still get their info, you should find ways to ultimately integrate that into the ad itself. So you can look for ways to pair this where they get closer to the value, and then at the very end, or maybe even at the beginning, they can still see what they're going to get on the other end. Let me give you an example of this. If you ran a car rental company and all of a sudden you wanted to get people to spend $200-300 a day to rent your cars, what you want to do is to get a little bit of information so they can get an instant quote on what that car rental is. And then just before they're ready to do it, ask for their email or ask for their phone number. But do not lead them into a contact form where they fill it out. You go back and forth with emails. Find a way to get info, or you can even automate components of it. Oops. Or you can even find a way to automate it. If you can automate your thing, then you are ahead of 90% of the competition. That involves finding a way to make an instant quote calculator, a widget that spits out a number, add to cart, buy now, book a consultation, book your appointment, instantly do something. That means that you can 24/7, 365 not only sell your product or service, but ultimately it's easier, it's faster, it's simpler for you as the business owner because you get more free time back. But ultimately, you are now getting info from them to build that list up and up. And your list is a huge component of building out these creatives and building out these advertisements, I should say. Because the more people you have interested in your stuff, the more you can see the patterns of what that person looks like. And you could take that data, plug it back into your advertising campaign, and this cycle repeats itself over and over again. Now, to recap, your offer is everything, especially when it comes to advertising. You need to have a focused, concise offer for a particular target that tells them something. And 3 ways that you can supercharge this to actually win is to develop an entry-level offer that's 1 or 2 steps down from the core thing you're trying to get them to buy, or you can either reduce the friction, so by addressing the questions, the objections, the concerns they have up front within the ad, and ultimately, if they still aren't ready to buy it, find a way to get some of that info and ultimately automate portions of getting that info. So enter your email here to get that guide. Enter your phone number here to go to the next steps. Instantly get a quote. Book now. Do something where they can take an action. But this is really important. And the last point I'm really trying to drive home with not just getting info and automating it is you don't want to run an ad where there's no steps for them to take. That is really the theme overall here, and why I say that your offer and your ad can be enhanced by having something where they say, okay, you've addressed my questions, I understand what's involved. If you can get them to still take an action, that's better than nothing. At the end of the day, if you can get somebody to take some step, that will dramatically change how your ads return are operating, because you're getting more. You're getting more for doing less. And sometimes it might be as simple as just adding an extra button. It might be as simple as changing up that offer. It might be as simple as changing out the offer to not just be about buying the core thing, but like I said, 1 or 2 steps below in the chain. So the big reason you want to do this as well is because if they don't have an action, if there's only one action, God forbid, then realistically you might get 1,000 people who click, who go to your website, you've spent all this money on marketing, and you have so many people at different stages within the buying cycle, but maybe only 20-25% of them can actually take an action on your site because they're interested, they see the value, they know what's involved, and you've just wasted the 75% of other people that you've still spent the same amount of money on. So let's end on one last note here. This is all about trying to get as much as you can from your return on investment, or how much you're putting into marketing, for the least amount of spending. Now, this is the whole goal with marketing. And if you follow these steps, you'll be able to do just that. Make sure you're constantly looking at the data that's given to you from your ads, that you're looking for targets that are more effective, that you put in more creative, and ultimately that you keep refining your offer. So I hope that this video was valuable to you. And if it was, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button, as well as commenting below, because I put out a video like this every single week that teaches people how to grow their business, improve their sales, improve their marketing. But that's all I got for you today. And until then, I'll see you next time.